All right. So we talked about having a sense of urgency is considered a white supremacist trait. Now we have got, I can't do it very well, but eye rolling is a trait of white supremacy. So if you're eye rolling at somebody, I mean, watch out. You might get in trouble. Eye rolling, as well as some other traits. I can't even take this one seriously. Some other traits that we're going to get into are apparently rooted in white supremacy. We are going off the track here. We're getting way off the track with folks claiming things are white supremacy just because they don't like them. I don't like that. White supremacy. Yeah, that's literally exactly what we've got going in an Oregon elementary school. Why is everything happening in Oregon? What's wrong with the water in Oregon? I mean, I've got a lot of police officers in Oregon that I correspond with. They seem normal. You guys all seem normal, reasonable. And yet, how do we end up with all this craziness? Just literal, white supremacy. Really? I don't know. That just seems like a regular human trait that humans do when they have a reaction to something that they don't maybe, understand or want to understand or simply agree with. It's not based on white supremacy, but that's what we're getting into today. Thanks for joining. Let's go. The educator said that the alleged microaggressions at an Oregon elementary school, Errol Hassel, were impacting their mental and physical health. Eye rolling. My grandfather, who served in the U.S. Army and was a medical doctor, they scooted him through medical school at Louisville to send him off to the theater, World War II. And he was the chief medical officer of a German Nazi prisoner of war camp. My grandpa had the best eye roll ever. He would roll his eyes up all the way and you just see white for a split second. And when you're a kid, you're like, what the F is that? And he would kind of roll it up at an angle. So he smoked a lot of cigarettes. Probably not supposed to say that, but it's old time, old school. We did stuff back then that, so he'd be smoking his cigarette and then he'd just roll his eyes at this crazy slanted angle. Was that rooted in white supremacy? I don't think so. You know what I mean? Just who knows, right? It's just a physical trait. Oregon teachers at the Errol Hassel Elementary School sent school administrators an email claiming that eye rolling directed at a principal, among other alleged actions that they observed, is an example of a harmful practice rooted in white supremacy that is happening in the workplace. Eye rolling. I probably wouldn't claim that one because I think everybody eye rolls at somebody else. How often do you eye roll at your significant other? Maybe you realize, okay, I'm not going to engage in that battle there. I'm not going to do it. But if they're not looking at you, you're going to roll your eyes because that's the only way that you can maybe get out your microaggression at your partner without it causing World War III. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just, I don't really want to go there. I'm just going to let that one go. I do not agree with that one. But when they turn their back, I'm going to roll my eyes. I'm going to give them just a fierce eye roll. It's what you do. It's kind of human nature. Is that an example of white supremacy? No, it's an example of, well, this is something I can do silent and I can react to my partner. And, if they catch me doing that, all hell's going to break loose. And I guess I'll just have to live with that. But, we're people. We do stuff. Sometimes you shoot a glance. You're like, is that a microaggression rooted in white supremacy? No, it's a human emotion. The educators from the Beaverton School District said in an email on May 27th that they had become aware of a rumor that Principal Lithia Larm Moffett was on the chopping block. She's a chicken. Head's going to get cut off. Gone. Just gone. We believe that much of the resistance to the Principal Moffett's work is a result of bias and targeted aggression. As BIPOC educators, we have observed, experienced, and witnessed Similar micro, very small, and macro aggressions, big, big. Russia is a big country. They invaded Ukraine, which is a small country. I love that speech by our fine, esteemed vice president. Oh, big. I get it. Oh, I see where you're going with that. And this article indicates, I had to explain this one to my dad on my last trip down to Oklahoma City. I said BIPOC, and he's like, what? I'm like, BIPOC. I mean, BIPOC. No, it stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. I mean, it's just a term, right? I mean, we're very aware of that. However, other areas of the country, not so much. The teachers included an extensive list of micro and macro aggressions. Many of them were concerning the staff's responses to the principal. It said staff members rolled their eyes during meetings while Principal Moffat is speaking. Oh, my word. Rolled their eyes at the principal? That is something else. That's about all I can say there. That's something else. It continued. Staff raised their voice and interrupted Principal Moffat during meetings and spoke in a disrespectful and aggressive manner. What? It's school. You're going to have arguments. You're not going to agree with everything. That's how life works, right? You've got an employer, an employee, you got principals, you got teachers. Stuff's going to be said. If you can't take somebody cutting you off and you're an educator, how are you going to deal with that with your kids, with your students? You got to be in charge. And when somebody raises their voice, all right, deal with it. Just deal with it. Work it out. If you don't have a skill set to deal with eye rolling and people speaking out, these aren't microaggressions. These are normal things that happen. No, they're not great. I agree. Hey, somebody's talking, let them talk. Somebody cuts them off. You know what? Sometimes you got to work with that. Have you ever seen, like, how about when the police speak, when a chief speaks and somebody starts screaming, they at them because they're nuts and, maybe they're Antifa? We don't say that Antifa screaming at the police officer is an example of white supremacy, do we? No, we don't. When the police officer or the police chief is typically black, I mean, right? We don't say that's an example of white supremacy because it's not. It's just some nut job screaming at a black, police officer. So it continued. Staff raised their voice and interrupted Principal Moffat during meetings. Okay, we talked about that. This is it's so ridiculous. We do have a picture of a pretty angry looking woman with purple or blue hair. What is up with the blue hair? That's a terrible look. It doesn't look good. That's my opinion. Coloring your hair, bright red or something, I don't know. But the blue and the purple, it's not a normal color. I refer to it as colors of the Smurf because Smurfs are blue, right? Say, hey, you look like a Smurf. That's good. Is that the look you were looking for, Smurf? You look just like Papa Smurf. Oh, you're taking that as a microaggression. Is that racist? No, because blue is never a racist color. It's the color the police officers wear, but it's not racist. The list also mentioned aggressive emails and behaviors over the school radio towards BIPOC staff. Okay, aggressive emails and behaviors. We're not saying that they are over the top. We're saying they're a little aggressive. And behaviors over the school. Maybe you're telling somebody something that is opposing school policy. Is that then an aggressive email or behavior over the school radio? And said that they were being ignored and bothered. All right. If you're in a school system and you're worried about being ignored and bothered, you should probably get a different job. That's kind of my opinion here, because you're going to have to take some lumps. Kids do, teachers do, principals do. That's just how this goes. In a perfect world, we'd all respect each other, but that's not how it works, right? It's just not how it works. Try being in the business world. Oh, he is ignoring me and bothering me. Well, you got to figure out your response and put that out there, and then you go from there. You learn to react. All right, they're reacting this way. We're going to handle it this way. We're going to handle it respectfully, and this is what we're going to do to get our opinion across in whatever the matter is. But you don't send an email saying, I got a microaggression here. I need some backup. The teacher said that racial slurs were directed at Principal Moffat by a staff member. Okay, that's not good. Racial slurs, that's not good. Let's be reasonable. That's not good. And that white staff had called a group of BIPOC staff a gang. You know, you refer to a group of people as a gang. I mean, we got the gang in Congress, right? So, all right. You're not literally calling them a street gang. You're calling them a group. And when you say the word gang, it just means kind of a band of people that share similar whatever. If somebody called me part of a gang, I would be like, oh, which gang? I mean, gang? Oh, okay. Well, I don't really identify as part of a gang, so I'm just going to let that slide because it doesn't really bother me. Some of the white staff members undermine the chain of command and go over BIPOC leaders and communicate directly to Patrick about issues that can be solved and are solved in-house. Well, it sounds like somebody maybe has better communication style, has better skill set at communicating. If you can't get your message across here, you move your message over here. It's part of communication. I mean, sometimes we have people in the business world that we can't seem to get through to. All right, try a different angle. If they respond negatively to us, do we have a meltdown and say, hey, that was a microaggression that's hurting our feelings? No, probably not. That's not how this works, right? Principal Moffat is held responsible for solving situations of racism in which she is a victim. Okay, well, if that is the case, that is something. But when you throw out eye rolling, I tend to discount all of this. So what happens is that if there are legit things in here, they get discounted by like 90%. It's kind of like Juicy Smollett, right? He's claiming that it's MAGA country, and he had to put a noose around his neck and, you know, racial slurs, and had some acid thrown on him. Well, that all ended up being just an absolute lie, didn't it? So then when you have other events like that are legit, people are like, is this going to be another Juicy Smollett? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Juicy is still claiming his innocence. I find that wild. It's just like, dude, you are the most guilty person ever in that situation. So guilty. So wildly guilty. So staff members are protesting a book club focused on dismantling racial oppression. All right. What's that about? You can't have an open discussion about that. I mean, okay. So that doesn't, so you've got staff members who are saying, hey, yeah, maybe the books in this book club aren't necessarily, you know, where we should be headed. Let's have a discussion about it. Okay. Yeah. BIPOC feels uncomfortable in our building to the point that some of us are experiencing, there's a typo in there, extreme anxiety because we feel unsafe at our work site. I mean, the things that are being complained about here by the BIPOC community, I mean, I'm not seeing them as, you know, huge issues. I'm seeing them as small, normal things that occur in a workplace all the time. And if they're having extreme anxiety about it, you know, I'm just not seeing anything here that should cause extreme anxiety. Our emotion and physical well-being has been impacted, not only by these actions, but also by the lack of response and support from district leadership. Well, maybe the stuff that you're working on isn't relevant. What about that? What about maybe the stuff is outside of school policy? Have you looked at that? Yeah, we don't want to go there, do we? And you're getting lack of support from district leadership, maybe because you're outside of the bounds of what you should be doing in this school district. I don't know. That could be. But what I'm seeing here, the eye rolling, yeah. All right. BIPOC staff is being called divisive for bringing up these issues and asking for support. which issues specifically do you need help with here? The eye rolling? The interrupting during speeches? These are things that happen on a normal daily basis. And again, I wish it didn't, because things would go much better and it would be more respectful, but they happen and you got to deal with it. You just do. That's how this goes. And if you can't deal with it, you're going to spin yourself out of control. And that's not helpful to you and your cause, whatever that may be. All right. So, those are some of the micro and macro aggressions that are rooted in white supremacy. That doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense to me. But then again, neither did the sense of urgency. You're a police officer. You're responding to a 911 call. Don't hurry. Somebody's been shot. You're an ambulance driver too. They're going to the same call. Don't hurry, because that's an example of white supremacy. Urgency is literally an example of white supremacy. We talked about that. That's previous podcast. Literally. Yep, urgency, that's a sign of white supremacy. So, we're going to hold off on this meeting because you lazy bastards couldn't get your materials together for this meeting. And so we're going to blame white supremacy on us not having this meeting today because you weren't prepared and you were lazy. Yeah, that literally happened. Wild, right? After listing all their complaints, the teachers asked why they were being labeled divisive when they were trying to dismantle those harmful practices rooted in white supremacy. Which harmful practices can we actually identify here as being rooted in white supremacy? It's really, really unclear to me. The potential of losing an internationally, culturally responsive leader is sending a chilling message to us. I'm not even going to read that. The educator said, "We feel the actions we have witnessed and experienced this year have greatly harmed us." If there were some real actions in there that weren't normal interactions, I'd say, okay, yeah, that's something that needs to be looked at. But eye rolling, yeah. You're going to have to have more of a backbone than that. And that's kind of where I stand on this. Hey, bad stuff's going to happen. You're going to have crazy stuff happen in the workplace. Wish it didn't, but you're going to have to work through some conflict. There's going to be no area in life where there is zero conflict. It just doesn't happen, right? That's not realistic. And eye rolling being one of them. You call that out, everything else that you say is going to be discounted because the eye rolling thing is nonsense. It's just nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. Really. Also, the sense of urgency. All right. That guy's really hustling. Racist. You can't do that, right? You can't call those things out and have anybody believe you because you lose all your credibility. You just do. Yeah, it's wild, right? The teachers then demanded a confirmation that the principal was not going to be terminated, an investigation into the biased and racial aggressions, as well as to stop staff members from undermining Principal Moffat's authority and ignoring the chain of command. This is in Oregon, mind you. This is in Oregon. This is not in Detroit, right? It's not on the south side of Chicago. This is in Oregon. Oregon. And ignoring the chain of command by having direct access to the executive, the supervisors. Okay. You got some issues here. You got a principal that the BIPOC community really likes. Okay. Stuff isn't going well. There's a rumor the principal might be fired. Does that happen fairly often? Absolutely. But then when you roll out this kind of stuff and you claim it's, rooted in white supremacy, you're trying to claim something that really can't be claimed. And in doing so, you just shoot yourself right in the foot because everybody then goes, eye rolling is white supremacist? Yeah, I don't think so. So we're going to move along. We're going to move along to the next topic, whatever that might be, anything other than eye rolling rooted in white supremacy. All right. So that's it for this article, but I'm going to leave with you. Damn it. I put my book away. I hope I postmarked this. I did. I'm going to leave with you with a quote. And if you can tell me who this is, it's amazing. Listen up, maggots. You are not special. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everything else. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. It's true, right? Yeah, you all got to get in there and just do your thing. And don't worry about this stuff. Hey, yeah, there is real racism out there. Eye rolling, that's not part of it. It's not. And if you want to claim that, that's not really going to go in your direction. So I'll give you a hint on this quote. The author, Tyler Durden. Yeah, you know it well. I mean, that's just great. I mean, you're not a beautiful or unique snowflake. My generation, I'm 53, we were brought up to believe we're unique snowflakes. You know, from the standpoint of we're the first generation that we got participation trophies and ribbons just for showing up. You don't think that kind of tweaked our mindset? I'm unique and unique snowflake. I'm special. No, you're not. You got to get in there and do your thing. And you start claiming all this other stuff. It's not going to work out. Just not. So there's that, right? So that's the quote I'm going to leave you with. Tyler Durden. I'll give you another hint. It's in the movie Fight Club. Just blew it, didn't I? I love that movie. I love that movie because of quotes like that. You're not a unique or beautiful snowflake. It's so true. Everybody's got their own deal. You gotta figure out how to navigate life on your own. If you can't, hey, you know what? I can't help you because only you can do that. We can only kind of control what we can control in our own environment. So there's that. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. We'll catch up soon. Talk then. Bye for now.